Let's get started. Hello, I'm Will Whitney. I'm the president and CEO of BMI Imaging, and with me, when he'll say hi, he'll pop up on the video on your left, on your right, is Brad Gilbert, our EVP and our head of software. Hello, Brad.
Hello, everyone.
And thank you for joining today. And we're going to be going over some digital ReeL, just basic training, some user skills. And before we kind of run down the rabbit hole here and get into the actual training, thank you very much for being a digital ReeL client. Everyone on this webinar is a digital ReeL client, or one of our customers or users. The original email was sent to admins, but I'm pretty sure there are a bunch of general users on here to get a little bit extra knowledge about digital ReeL. So thank you for being our clients. We love this tool and we're very happy you're using it. And I'm actually overwhelmed with how many folks are joining today. So that's a good sign that you are interested in learning more about the tool, even if it's simple stuff that'll just help you do your job a little bit better. So I'm gonna just go right into it. Oops. And the purpose of today is to review basic user skills for originally digital ReeL admins, but there are some users on here. So it's DR folks just learning or knowing more about the basic skills, because it's an old phrase I used to use in my old job: brilliance in the basics. If you can master the basics, you will be a much better user. Don't need to get too fancy. Master the basics and you'll just be a better digital user, which should help in your day-to-day job. And of course, answer questions to ensure that you're equipped to, if you're a user, just to use these tools, or if you're an admin, to then help your users a little more. Some nuts and bolts. First, on your right, I believe, there should be like a panel that has like a hand and things like that. And I actually see some people raising hands, so you beat me to it. Thank you very much. That means you can hear me. And if you can see me, click it also. All right, awesome. You got a lot of people clicking, so you can unclick it so it goes down again. I appreciate it. I want to make sure everyone can see in here. So you are muted. You're not on video, so don't worry about that. If you have questions during the presentation / training today, just use that question and answer tool. I'm going to turn it over to Brad in a little bit. He's going to be running the actual kind of how things work and just the skills we're going to go over. I'll be monitoring the question and answer. There are a lot of folks on here, so if we don't get to all of them, I'm still going to go through these afterwards, and we'll get back in touch with you directly, either myself or I'll have your account executive reach out to you to help answer your questions, but we will get to them if I don't get it today. But go ahead and ask questions as we go along. There is time at the end for a little additional QA, but there are a lot of people, so if there are a lot of questions, we may not get to everything. Go ahead and ask them along the way. And the user skills we're going to be covering today: basic navigating the interface, searching records in a couple of different ways, image enhancement, one of our favorite parts of digital ReeL, and some specialty tools. So a couple items here that, like the specialty tools especially, not everyone, so everyone's data set is different. That's why we're keeping this very basic. We're looking at about a 20-minute overview of these skills. Again, you might learn something new that will help you. Just because you come away with something that's beneficial, you've won today, that's great. But everyone's data set, who's a digital ReeL user, almost everyone's data set is unique. So what we're showing you may not, like we're going to be showing some newspaper microfilm. You may not have newspaper microfilm, but the skills should be applicable. And if you have questions about your specific data set, that's where you can follow up with us afterward, or put in the Q&A, or just reach out to us. And I will make sure that your account executive can follow up with you to give you and your team individualized special training for your use case. Because again, everyone's data set might be a little bit different, and there'd be different uses. Some people don't have microfilm, some don't have microfiche, some have books, others don't. So we're trying to cover a wide gamut of people here with these skills. And I think that's it for now for this. So Brad is going to take over from here. I'm going to stop sharing, and he's going to share his screen, and I'll be providing some color commentary along the way. And a lot of you probably actually know Brad. He's been around for 20 or so years at BMI. He's a major part of digital ReeL, so he is the premier expert on it. But a lot of you have probably talked to them or met him in various situations. So it's a fun thing we're having here, where you're all users. Typically, I do webinars where it's people that we aren't even working with yet. But we're glad to have you here, and I'm going to turn this over to. Is it right? Oh, he's trying to do share. No, I'm just going to stop share and let you share, Brad. I don't want to blow this up or something. So, all right, without further ado, stop share, and Brad's going to take over. And I'm going to be monitoring the questions.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I assume you can see the screen.
I can see it, so you're good to go.
Okay. So one of the features that I wanted to show was actual image navigation and some of the keyboard shortcuts and mouse shortcuts that not everyone knows about. So the obvious zoom in and zoom out is at the top right here. But not everyone knows that you can also use the mouse wheel to actually quickly go in and out. And once you have learned that, that's pretty much the only way you zoom in and out after that. You can also pan using the mouse button. So you can move the image around. You don't have to use the actual scroll bars at the top and on the right. So that makes that process a lot faster once you get used to that. And you can zoom in and out very quickly and pan up and down. So that's some of the image navigation capabilities within the product. Also, the view film button is something that not everyone knows about. And so there's actually a full copy of the microfilm behind the selected image. And from here, you can zoom in and zoom out, and you can even select multiple images. So in this case, I've selected 3 pages, and you can see the 3 pages at the top, which then you can navigate through if you like. And you probably do that before you actually print or download that document.
Yeah, and just Brad, just a quick note. If you sometimes as we're doing these through Zoom, this particular webinar platform, it may look a little choppy. So like when Brad's clicking, he selected 3 images. If you said, wait, I only saw 2 frames get applied, it's just because he's going at normal speed, but sometimes these webinars are a little bit slow. So maybe Brad, as you're going through, just slow it down a teeny bit so you can see. But what he did is just control click 3 images and then it pops up that thing. But that's one of the ways to select images in microfilm, in microfiche, in document viewer, and the different applications of digital reel. That's a quick way to get multiple documents, which a lot of people don't actually know about. They ask us through their support team, hey, how do I select multiple documents? I don't need just this one page. I don't want to have to save 5 pages and stitch them together later. How do I do this? So it's a very common use of the tool.
Yeah, and another outside feature that not everyone uses is the breadcrumb from within the actual roll view. It's common just to hit the back button or hit the back button on the browser, but you can actually go back to a particular spot in the application. So in this case, we're just interested in the grantee doc type, and you can click that to just go back to the grantee, and maybe you want to choose a different year range or a different folder from there. And so you don't have to start from the very beginning and then navigate back down. You can actually navigate to that part of the application. Yeah, next is searching. So most everyone knows that you can search from the root of the data set. And in this case, we're doing a text search. And there's 47,000 results in 2 seconds. But what that produces is many different pages to go through. So if you're not exactly sure what you're looking for, but you do know that it's actually in a particular spot in the application, you can search from that spot in the application and do the same search. And in this case, you only get 900 results instead of 47,000. So that's a way to filter out your search results to get closer to what you're looking for.
And I'm actually going to show Brad's talk. He's going to give you the individual skills and kind of keep going through them. At the very end, I'll show you a great example of how you tie it all together. It's an example I use all the time, but it just really shows the efficiency of digital reel. And one of the phrases I like to use a lot is, many of us will know what we want, we just don't know where it is. I mean, you're used to having, if you have microfilm, microfiche, if you have hundreds of boxes of paper in physical form, you have to go find it and look around, and what you're looking for. You have to go through things. Same in a digital platform. Just because it's digital doesn't mean you can necessarily find it super quickly unless you know exactly where it is. But a lot of times people don't know where it is. And the great thing about this global text search that Brad is showing is you don't necessarily need to know where it is, just what it is. And oftentimes, if you have text searched or OCR applied to your data set, and the person, the social security number, the student record, or the MRN, whatever it is, more often than not, the OCR, if it's decent material, it will find that even if you don't know where it is. So that's a great way to apply digital ReeL. And I think, Brad, are you going to go over like narrowing down the search using text search?
Oh yeah, that's what the breadcrumb did. So if you do navigate into the application at that particular folder that you're searching, you can substantially reduce the amount of results you get back.
And are you going to, I mean, what I meant was like a quote search. I'm going to cover that at the end, but I don't know if you were going to do it too.
Yeah, you can do multiple terms. And so if you're looking for John Smith, you could put quotes around that and actually find that particular name instead of just any name with Smith in it.
All that's included in the end, so I'll show that as well. And there are a couple of questions, multiple questions about recording. It's automatically recording. I wasn't originally planning on sending this out, but I may do that on a follow-up email for attendees. So possibly, but we'll get to that. There's some other useful information you find at the end for folks that want additional, just kind of basic user skills. So I'll show that at the end as well. And then we'll wait till that special section. One question is, if I want to select a large number of images, for example, 50, how do I do so? So rather than control click, is there a, that got cut off. Is there a select frame, shift click? How do you download and select it? So Brad, can you show a shift click?
Sure. So if you actually hold shift, then you get the frame in gold. And then you can hold shift again and click again. And then you get, in this case, 9 pages. So you could navigate further down the roll and actually then shift click the last frame, and then it will complete the range, and that will become one document.
So yeah, so exactly what Brad said. If you know it's just like maybe there's a flasher sheet and you don't want to do click, 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 click. So control click, when you're selecting individual images, you have to continue holding control and then select the individual images, and then you let go and it goes, here's your 12-page document, whatever. With shift click, you shift click, let go of shift, and it'll be gold. Scroll, scroll, scroll to wherever you want. Shift click again, and then that'll bring up that. So it's a little different way to do that. And this is in the user manual as well. I know who reads user manuals these days, I get it. But a lot of this stuff is in there as well, these kind of little nuances of how to select things. So that's a great place to look for other things that you may not be aware of also. But those are the two multi-image selection methods. And if you're doing, correct me if I'm wrong, Brad, but if you're doing the shift click, it has to be contiguous, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so if you have to, the images have to be next to each other. The benefit of the control click is you could do, page 1, 2, 3, 4, skip 2 or 3 pages, and then do 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And then you'll still get a single document of those stitched together, but they weren't contiguous. So that's a little aspect of that to be aware of also. Let me see here. A couple other questions that we think we can answer. When searching for specific words, there's no way to is there a way to further filter what the results are? So example, if you're searching for John Smith, it'll bring up links that are all different time frames and not really earlier to latest type of filter. I think what you're saying is, if I'm looking for John Smith, I don't want to see 40,000 John Smiths. So one way to do that, if you're searching from like, this is what's called the data set view. And you see at the top, it says Sonoma County, just that's the data set as a whole. Those other things below are the document types. So if you know generally where something is, like that you're looking for John Smith, let's just say in official records, we're just gonna go with what's on screen, and you click into official records, you'll only search for John Smith in that document type. So that's one way to narrow the search. A better example would be if you have, let's say, newspapers. They're usually great examples. Usually what we do in digital reel for our clients is we have it by title, year, month, and then issue. So if you knew that your uncle or something, John Smith, was in the 1986 paper of whatever it was, you could find the paper like Napa Valley Register, go to 1986, and then search there. So it'll filter out everything else and only search in 1986 in the Napa Valley Register. So that's one way. Another way, which I'll show at the end of that use case, is how to use specific searching to kind of filter out some of the stuff you don't want, some of the not garbage search, but the stuff that you're not really looking for. I'll show you how that works in that final example. All right. Are there limitations to the number of images that can be selected at a single time?
Yes, the current limitation is 250 images.
And the reason for that, a lot of times, I believe, is people, well, the files can get a bit large and they become unwieldy, let's say, or just the nuances of PDFs. That sometimes if you make files that are too large, especially if you're doing, let's say, grayscale images with OCR, they just become massive files that crash. So mostly they're limited, yes.
Yeah, we do have an additional feature that allows you to actually export sections of roles or even multiple roles. But that feature has to be enabled. It's not turned on by default.
Here's a good one. Does a search feature work with very old writing, not typed print? Maybe. It might not. Handwriting is very iffy. Even with typed print, a lot of times what myself, account executives will say, a lot of OCR is dependent on the quality of the actual material. So just again, using microfilm as an example, if it's nice, clean, good microfilm, mostly typewritten, and scans well, looks great, you're gonna have great OCR. We've seen some, over 66 years in business, we've seen some very not so good microfilm that even though we're applying OCR, even though it might be typewritten, let's say it was like on an actual typewriter, like super clean from the original, just the way it was filmed could negate the ability of OCR to capture. So it could be the lighting isn't good or the contrast just, it makes it so the OCR can't read that. So it's one of those, it might not, even if you have good material. It's like, hey, it's typewritten, why didn't this capture? It could just be the quality of the original images or how the, let's say, microfilm was made or microfiche was made. Or if you have old records like some deed books or something that were scanning from the original content, if those weren't stored properly, there's some damage or they're really faded or something, that can affect it as well. So a lot of it comes down to just how does the original material look, how are those images displayed, and does the OCR see that? Any other comment on that, Brad?
No, that's correct. In fact, some documents will have different darkness of text within the same document. So some aspects of the image may be perfectly OCRable, and then you might have a stamp or something else, which is very difficult to OCR because it's very light.
All right, and can you show, before going on to the image enhancement, the example, I think it's on the other data set, or in the Sonoma County data set of index search.
Yeah, so if you do an index search on the right panel, you can actually search for specific fields. In this case, I'm just going to search for book 100. In this particular example, there's 3 results that match book 100 as shown in the highlights. In this case, it's probably obvious which one you want, but it may not be obvious initially for other searches. And so you would use the preview function, which allows you to actually look at the image from those roles without actually having to open them yet. And you can flip through each of the 3 results this way to then decide, is that what you're looking for or not? And if this fee book was what you actually wanted, then you could click on it and actually go inside that search result.
Yeah,
So
so we used, it used to be,
preview,
oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
the preview button, a lot of people don't know about the preview button being enabled, and so that's a very useful feature.
All right, why don't you kick into great enhancement?
Yeah, so a lot of images on microfilm are difficult to read. Um, Mainly because it tends to be very old content. And in this case, we're going to look at one example from the 1800s. Uh, and so this image is handwritten. It's very old, and it's on microfilm. So in those two aspects, it's going to be not as clear as what we would normally expect from a digital image. So in this case, you can click the enhance button, and that will take that bitonal image that was very grainy and clear it up significantly. And in some cases, it's still not as readable as you'd want. And then you can actually adjust the image with the brightness and contrast to make it a little darker so the lighter handwriting is more easy to read, and also change the contrast to just clear up the entire image. And so the enhance button allows you to use a grayscale image, which can oftentimes be clearer than the bitonal image.
Yeah, the enhancement tool is one of those, the perfect application of the phrase beauty's in the eye of the beholder, where everyone has a different idea of what good is. And this just allows you instead of, and you're already client, so we know you're past this point of thinking, oh, I have microphone's bad, can you do X? But maybe you have another project, or you have patrons that are asking you, hey, why does it look like this? Why wasn't it optimized when it was scanned? Because one person has a different idea of, hey, this looks, I may say this is great. Brad may say it's too dark. And how do you come to an agreement? Whereas let's just scan it, we get it into the bitonal grayscale, and then let the user optimize what they think is best. So if you're using this a lot, or your patrons are using, your staff, they likely already know this, but it's just why we do that, and why we don't try to optimize every single image, because what is optimal? It's a very subjective thing. So just one of the great features of this application. And again, it's something I'll tie in at the end when I do kind of a quick use case. There's a question. Can you enhance several pages at once? For example, I'm printing 10 pages. Yes, you can. I believe Brad will show it quickly, but if you select multiple pages, you just select two, I guess. Select 2 pages. And I think you can apply the same enhancement across the multiple images.
Correct.
Oh, there's a button for it. Makes sense.
Yeah, so after making the adjustments, you can then apply them to all the pages. And then now all those pages in that document that you've selected will have those settings.
Excellent. Another question, probably more tied to what we were going over in indexing. Is there a way to reorganize our data? Typically, well, Brad, you might have a different answer than me on the specific technical aspects, but typically when we create these data sets for you, our clients, it's created based on a scope of work with your account executive and how the original records are organized. So you have a data set, a doc type, maybe sub doc types, and you can edit like the indexing, the naming of files and whatnot. I believe if you want to start reorganizing, creating new sub document types, or a distinct data set, so on and so forth, it can be done. I don't know if they can do that themselves, Brad.
Yeah, so editing at the file level or the last level in the folder structure is something that's common that customers like to do. They like to fix any typos or mistakes in terms of what was on the actual original microfilm. Label can sometimes be incorrect. But what they often find is to do bulk editing is quite tedious. The tool is not designed to do indexing operations in a very efficient way. And so in those cases, it just makes more sense for us to assist them in that initiative.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Can you print the enhanced version? Yes. You can choose which version. If Brad left it on screen like this in the enhanced method and you clicked export, create PDF, whatever it is, it would be like that. Or you could click the enhance button, turn it back to bitonal, and it would be exported as bitonal. All right, Brad, why don't you do a little bit on the specialty tools, and then I'll wrap it up with the use case, and then give some resources at the end.
Yeah, so some of the tools that are built in but not turned on by default for all users, so it's actually a group level permission, is the annotations. So in this case, if you have this turned on, there's a little side menu on the right side that allows you to do all these various operations, such as add a note. And so if you do a add note, you can add what is a sticky note onto the image, and it will then be available for anyone to see. And so you can move it around if you want, change the color, change the heading, change the text, and then delete it as well. And also, one of the features that is commonly used is the redaction feature. And in this case, the redaction feature allows you to obscure certain aspects of the image. And so by default, no one will be able to see through that particular box. In this case, it's a translucent red. But to most users, it's just going to be opaque black. And they can't delete it, they can't see through it, they can't tamper with it unless they're provided the actual permission to view, create, and edit redactions.
So as an admin, you're saying you go in, you'd see through that because you created it or you have the ability to, but if I'm just a general user that doesn't have permissions and I'm on this, that would be blacked out.
Yeah, correct. More specifically, you would have to, as an admin, actually give yourself the permission to see through it at the group level. So whatever group that you're inside of, you would add that permission to see through the redaction, and all the users in that group would also inherit that permission. And so what we usually see, the most common thing is someone will create a new group called redactions, for example, and in that they'll add certain users that can actually perform redactions, and then add the permission to that group for those users to actually perform the redaction.
So one of the questions related to this, do the notes show up for everyone else who accesses the system or just for you who made the note?
Everyone.
Okay. And actually someone had a question before about, can I add a note to a transcript? So that answered that question. But yes, the notes are for anyone who has access to the data set would see that note. And most cases would be like, if let's say there's a reference, you put a note saying, hey, you're looking for X, it says it here, go to this document. It might be a reference like that so people know, hey, I know you're looking for this, we've gone through it, we add this note because you should be over here. Something along those lines, that's what it could be useful for. All right, anything else you want to show, Brad?
Yeah, so also the actual color schema can be customized. I assume you can see the Napa County website, Will? Okay.
Napa County, great client of ours. They've been with us for a long time, and they asked us to do a customization for their digital ReeL portal. So you'll see as that loads, basically that title strip, we matched their website color scheme and added their name and everything up top. So for a user, because their application is open to the public, anyone can go on their website, get into digital ReeL to view newspapers, and we match that so it's a seamless experience for their patrons. So they think, hey, I'm still in Napa County's website. That's how we made it look. So it's just a nice clean look. So that's something that is available if you're interested in your staff having something match your website or your colors, or you want your patrons to see something like that. You can reach out to us and we can chat about that. All right, Brad, if that's the last part, let me do one last piece here as we wrap it up. I know we're right towards the end here. So I'm going to show you also Napa County, actually, because it's a great application. All right, so I'm showing the Napa site. I'm in the databases like Brad was showing, and I go to newspapers, and So yeah, I'm in their website. I click digital ReeL. My internet is just, there's like a storm going on where I live, and it's a bit slow today. But it should be loading here, and if not, I might have to Brad go back and do it. No, there it goes. Quite slow for me, but it's been a bit like that all day. All right, so here we are, Napa County. And what I'm going to do, this would be a classic use case. Sure, I'm showing newspapers, but I'm sure you can apply this to whatever type of system you have or whatever data set it is. It could be your users, it could be people that come in and access a public data set. But let's assume I'm a student, or I'm just a person doing research. I'm looking for Uncle Dean, and I know that Uncle Dean was in a band in 1986, and he was featured in the Napa Valley Register. Couple ways to get to Uncle Dean. One, I know he's in the Napa Valley Register. I know it was 1986 when his band was just on the top of their game. I know it was in August that he was doing a performance that was in the newspaper. I'm just going to go to August 1st to check out, and then page 1. I want to go see what Uncle Dean and his band were doing. So here's page 1 of August 1st. That's where it pings you on this roll of microfilm. And I scroll around and, oh, there's Uncle Dean and his band. So this is the case, and I was loading the large newspaper image. In this case, I knew exactly where he was. So I just did the kind of the Microsoft, I guess you call it, kind of waterfall version. I go here, then I go here, then I go here, then I go here, and boom. Jan and Dean, there's Dean Torrance. Hey, there's Uncle Dean playing his guitar, rocking out. Great, that's one way. Or let's say I don't know exactly where it is, but I know he's in the Napa Valley Register, for instance. I could search everything, but let's just keep in the Napa Valley Register. It goes from 1856 to 2020. So we load new materials as they come in. They send them to us. We load them to the site, but it goes all the way back to the 1850s. So I'm going to type Dean Torrance. And it's going to do a search. It says, oh, you found 50,000 results. Okay. I could look around. I see Torrance, Dean, like Dean Lewis Fisher of Torrance, South Torrance. So you can see that the results here are saying anything with Dean or Torrance. This is a trick that if you don't know, it could be very useful. That's because the system is searching either Dean or Torrance, or both. If I put quotes around it like that, it's only going to find results specifically for that phrase. So another great example is if you go in here and type, John F. Kennedy without quotes, you get 1 million hits. If you start narrowing it down with quotes, it gets much more finite. But here's an example. Dean Torrance, it goes, oh, August 1st, page 3, 1986. Over that entire data set from the 1850s till 2020 is the most current year. This is what you're going to find. So great. Oh, there's Uncle Dean. Perfect. So I just went through probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of images or records, and just went straight to it by doing a quick search with quotes around it. There's Uncle Dean. And what I'm going to do, first is move this out of the way, move that out of the way. And then I say, wow, I'd really love to frame this picture of Uncle Dean and give it to him for, for his birthday or something. Okay. Not the best. It's bitonal. Let's enhance it. And then you get the layered grayscale that Brad was showing earlier when we were doing enhancement. So you have the bitonal image up front, then you get the layered grayscale. And from here, then I would be able to, I gotta move all these tools out of the way, the zoom tools. I would be able to adjust the brightness and contrast however I wanted, export it, and then there is a nice gift for Uncle Dean. But that's one of the simplest ways that to make your users more productive is using that quote tool. If they know what they're looking for, if they know how to get there, like where it is, you can do the click method. If you don't know where it is, but you know what it is, you can do that search and start narrowing search results. That's a great example of how we would want our users to use the system to make it more productive. All right. let me see, let me stop. No, let me go back to this actually. So that's a simple use case. And that wraps up the basic user skills. Again, we wanted to keep it fairly short here. I know there have been a lot of questions here. We're not going to be able to get to all of them. I know we're past the half hour we planned for, so I thank you for sticking around. But what I want to do is on screen here, you have a phone on you. Let's say, I hope, if you're watching on your computer and you have your phone available, you can just bring up the camera. You want to be on our newsletter, you can sign up for that. Every other week it goes out, just new blogs, videos, other webinars coming up. But if you go to our YouTube channel here, go to the YouTube channel, you don't have to sign up, but if you go there, there's a playlist. You just click playlists, and there's a playlist for digital ReeL training. And it's available to anyone. You don't need a login or anything. So you just go to YouTube, hover over that, click it. If you go onto YouTube, you can type in the digital imaging channel. That's our YouTube channel, but it'll get you there from this QR code. And there's it's about 25 or 30 videos. They're all about 30 seconds to 2 minutes most. And it's just like stuff we went over today. How do you enhance an image? How do you scroll around in microfilm? How do you use aperture cards? Document viewer, what do you do? There's also admin tools, not just user tools, like how do I add a user? How do I create a new group? What's the basic interface? There's very good video tools. So you have a manual if you log in DR, but this is a great way of thinking, I need to remember how to do text search more productively. Go to the channel, go to the digital ReeL playlist, and just find the one that says text search. And then you can watch a minute-long video that shows you basically what I did here of try this way, try this way. So we want you to be able to use digital ReeL effectively. And a lot of questions, which I believe Zoom saves these and will show me who asked the question. So assuming it does, I will get back to each one of you or get your account exec involved so they can help answer the questions. You can also reach out to us. Feel free to reach out to me or Brad directly. And if you do have technical questions, like maybe later on, you can always contact our support team. That's also on the digital ReeL site that you can just click support, pop up an email. But feel free to reach out to me if you want additional training or if you have questions. I'm happy to get your sales rep in touch with you to do one-on-one or your team training to make sure that you're using digital ReeL effectively, because you are clients and we want you to be successful. But that wraps it up. So, and I'll follow up with these with the questions, assuming Zoom keeps those for me. I appreciate you joining, and feel free to reach out to us if you need anything else with digital ReeL. So thank you, Brad. Appreciate you joining, and everyone have a great rest of your week.